18 still critical. Chhattisgarh government's botched-up sterilization drive in Bilaspur has now prompted the National Human Rights Commission to seek a report on it. Headlines today has now learned that surgeries were rushed up. 83 tubectomies were performed in only 6 hours because the doctors at the camp wanted their Sunday off.
Anger against death of 11 women in Bilaspur spilling onto the streets. Chhattisgarh government sterilization botch-up has the Congress gunning for the BJP. Congress workers called for a shutdown in Bilaspur, and in Delhi there were protests outside the BJP headquarters. But what exactly happened at the camp? Who's responsible for such criminal medical negligence? Out of the 90 women that were admitted to undergo tubectomies, 83 actually underwent the procedure. And headlines today has learned that these surgeries were performed in just 6 hours by 3 doctors. Sources say that the doctors were in a hurry because they wanted the next day off. The patients too were discharged the same night, but within 24 hours, many of them were back, complaining of vomiting and acute abdominal pain. There are 18 women still whose condition is said to be critical, and a political war of words. Meanwhile, a team of doctors from Delhi's All India Institute of Medical Sciences is already in Bilaspur. They suspect that the women may have died of organ failure. A complete post-mortem report, though, is still awaited. With Sunil Namdeo in Bilaspur, Bureau Report, Headlines Today.
Let me then raise my big question. Who will be held accountable today for what has gone wrong in Chhattisgarh? That's my face-off on the News Today at 9. That's right. Joining me now, Ajit Jogi, senior leader and former Chhattisgarh Chief Minister. Sudhanshu Mittal of the BJP is still with us. I'm going to ask you this, Mr. Ajit Jogi. Is it fair to blame the political leadership for what went wrong in this government health camp? Is it enough for you to blame the politicians and call for resignations of the health minister of the state and the chief minister? Do you believe that will solve anything?
Why not, Rajdeep? After all, this is a democracy, and people have reposed faith in this government, the state government led by BJP. People have given their trust to Dr. Raman Singh. They have not given their trust to a particular doctor. So the buck must stop somewhere, and it stops at the highest level. And this is not the first time this has happened.
So you're saying the buck must stop with the chief minister of the state. Sudhanshu Mittal, respond to that. Remember, here are people, innocent people, go to a sterilization camp and find what? That there are faulty medical procedures, equipment that has been used is rusted, and simply because they are poor people, no one really takes the kind of precaution that would be taken in a top hospital. Should Raman Singh, a doctor, take the responsibility? Should the health minister, who comes from the very district where the health camp took place, take responsibility? Can they escape responsibility? Can Raman Singh and the health minister escape responsibility?
Rajiv, what has happened is terribly, terribly sad. It is shocking. And no nation or no administration should ever permit this kind of a thing. So there cannot be any justification of what has happened in Chhattisgarh. The death of innocent women in such a gross manner is heartrending. You know, it shakes your conscience. So
please answer my question.
There can't be a
it shakes all our conscience.
Yeah.
I want to know, does it shake the conscience of your chief minister and the health minister enough for them to offer at least to resign?
Now, when things happen in an administration, what is critical is how is the political leadership responding to wrongdoings. If the political leadership is defined to public sensibility and is trying to shield and is trying to cover up and not take remedial actions, then certainly the political leadership will be in the dock. Look at the case here. The political leadership has responded with absolute sincerity, including that of the Prime Minister, who has taken this issue very, very seriously.
No, the issue is you suspend doctors, you end up suspending doctors, you transfer a few officers.
Not only you suspend, not only you suspend, you transfer, and then you institute criminal action against people responsible, because what has happened is criminal negligence.
Okay, you're accepting.
There's no whitewashing of the criminality.
So you're saying yes, I take your point.
One more thing, lastly,
yes.
Lastly, before apportioning blames, what you must look at is, has the political leadership a role in decision making on these issues or not? If there is a role of the political leadership in what has happened, certainly they should be hauled up. But if there is not a role, Mr. Jogi wants to take a high moral ground, let him do it, because the
hold on, Sudhanshu.
Mr. Jogi, if I get into your history,
let Mr. Jogi respond to you.
Have nowhere to look at.
Sir, let Mr. Jogi respond. Mr. Jogi, where does the political leader, you've been a former chief minister, why do you believe the political leadership must take responsibility? Let me give you the figures for Chhattisgarh. Maternal mortality rate is 269 against a national average of 212. There was, if you remember, Mr. Jogi, 62 people were left blind in one eye after they underwent surgeries at cataract camps held in the state between 2011-13. There is a systemic problem in Chhattisgarh. You've been a chief minister, Raman Singh is a chief minister. Why should he alone be held responsible?
The question, Rajdeep, is not how they have responded after the incident. The question is, why did the incident occur? Why did this shocking and shattering tragedy?
Because there is something wrong with the health system. There is something wrong with the health system that sets targets.
Why the administration was not alive to it? Why did they allow the surgery of this kind, which is a major surgery, to take place in a hospital building which is closed since April?
Sir, but should the IS officer take responsibility? Mr. Jogi, should the IS officer take responsibility?
There is no operation theatre. There is no anesthetist. Why did they allow the surgery to take place there? What was Mr. Amar Agrawal doing, who is the health minister? This place where the surgery took place is just 5 kilometers away from his own house. How did he allow this to happen? This kind of carelessness.
Mr. Jogi, Mr. Jogi, you've been both a bureaucrat and a minister. You've also seen, therefore, administration working. When something goes wrong and it's a clear botch-up and it's criminal negligence, no one doubts that. Who should take the rap? I come back to it. Should the political leadership take the rap, or does the administration, the local administration, take the rap, Mr. Jogi?
The question is that we are living in a democracy. After all, the ultimate responsibility is that of the political leadership. Was Mr. Lal Bahadur Shastri driving the train when he resigned after the accident? Was Mr. Madhavrao Sindhya flying the plane when the accident occurred? They took the moral responsibility. They resigned. And I can say for sure, if I was in Dr. Raman Singh's place, I would have taken the responsibility.
You would have resigned? Mr. Jogi, you would have resigned? If you were chief minister and this has happened, you would have resigned, Mr. Jogi?
Let me expose him.
Such a shattering.
You would have resigned. Okay. You claim you would have resigned.
In the first place would not have occurred if I was.
No, that's another question. That's another issue. You are saying you would have resigned. You're citing Lal Bahadur Shastri, Madhavrao Sindhya, who resigned after rail and air crashes. You want to respond to that? Moral responsibility, Sudhanshu Mittal. That's my final question. Should there be moral responsibility or not?
I'm so happy that he's talking about morality. In his own regime as chief minister, when the opposition holds a rally and the treasurer of the party which is holding the rally is shot dead, Ajit Jogi did not resign. When he stifled the entire cable network in Chhattisgarh, he did not resign. And mind you, Mr. Jogi, lastly, when all the accidents, just 1 minute. Sir, I let you speak, let me speak. When all the accidents
I can't
took
hear you
place in
properly,
railways
but
during
I
the
can make
regime
out
of
what you're saying. You
Mr.
can't
Manmohan Singh.
blame
You never
One by
raised
one,
the issue
please.
of anybody
Mr.
taking
Jogi,
the
one by one,
resigning. I mean, let's not be hypocritical about what you're talking.
Because
the issue is, if there is an administrative failure, the administration must be held accountable. The administration must be punished for their misdeeds and negligence.
Can we, Mr. Jogi,
for no rhyme or reason, because you have no sense of morality, sir.
In Barbara.
Okay, I'm going to,
you know, action.
Sir, you don't talk about morality because you all know about your political morality. You kill your opponents.
No, hold on. Sudhanshu Mittal, let's not make personal. I have to ask my director to switch off the mic. You cannot make personal allegations here. No, let's not accuse each other of who is murdered, political rivals and otherwise. But I just want to know. I just want to know from you, Mr. Jogi, now. Forget the politics for a moment. What is going to happen to ensure that this never happens again in Chhattisgarh? Now tell me purely as a forget you're a congressman for a moment. Tell me as a dispassionate person who has lived in who has been in politics and administration for 30-40 years, what will ensure that something like this never happens again? Is it simply the resignation of a chief minister, or is there something else that could be done?
I couldn't hear you. There is some technical problem.
I want to know, if possible, Mr. Jogi, what do you believe, the one thing that you believe can happen to ensure this never happens again in Chhattisgarh? What is that one thing?
I think if moral responsibility is taken, the whole administration will be alive to its responsibility, and people will not repeat such acts and such acts which are not pardonable by any standard.
Okay. I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to leave it at that point, Ajit Jogi.
Rajiv, can I have the last word?
Yes, last word, 10 seconds.
See, the government must look at every procedure which is being followed or every practice and ensure that proper systems are put in place so that such things are never repeated. It is shocking. It dismays everybody, and all responsible must be held guilty.
Let's leave it at that. But somewhere the buck is going to have to stop with someone. Does it stop only with the doctors who've been suspended? Does it go to the health minister in whose constituency this has happened? Or does it go to the chief minister, who himself is a medical professional? That's the question that the Chhattisgarh administration must answer, because what has happened is criminal negligence. Sudhanshu Mittal, Ajit Jogi, appreciate your joining us on our Face Off. Now to Prime Minister Narendra Modi, who's just met Nobel laureate and Myanmar's opposition leader Aung San Suu Kyi and met the US President Barack Obama a short while ago at the ASEAN summit. This was the Prime Minister's first interaction with Aung San Suu Kyi, the meeting taking place at the presidential suite in Myanmar. During her interaction with Mr. Modi, Suu Kyi described India as her second home. It also came on a day when Mr. Modi had a string of bilateral meetings with world leaders and participated in the 12th India-ASEAN summit. The PM, who interacted in Hindi at the round table of the India-ASEAN summit, invited the 10-nation bloc to be part of his Make in India initiative. I'm told he also spent some time enjoying the notes played by a young musician on a Myanmari xylophone called Patala. Okay, let's go straight across though to Smita Sharma, a correspondent who is there in Yangon at the moment. Smita, give us a sense. I'm told that the Prime Minister has just met US President Barack Obama. Did Mr. Obama again say Kem Cho Modi ji, or what was said in that meeting between the two leaders in Yangon?
Well, the Kem Cho came across in that handshake, really, Rajdeep. It wasn't so much in words, because this wasn't really a meeting as such. It was just that the world leaders who have gathered here for the ASEAN and the East Asia Summit that takes place tomorrow, they all walked into that hall for the gala dinner that had been organized. That dinner started off, in fact, an hour late than scheduled. And when they walked in fact, just ahead of that, Mr. Obama, who greeted Mr. Modi, saying that you are a man of action.
Right.
Clearly, Narendra Modi, who was in the US recently, and in fact there will be other occasions too, because both the leaders will be headed to, of course, Brisbane for the G20 summit, where US also realizes that, you know, there are issues, whether it be in WTO or climate change, that India does take very different positions.
Okay, just a quick word though. What was the big takeaway for you at the end of this day of the Prime Minister's visit in Myanmar?
Well, clearly, this is a grouping that is very crucial, Rajdeep, for this Asian century dream that he has been talking about. But if you look at his comments today at the India-ASEAN summit meeting, once again, he does that what he did in Japan. He had not named China, but he made that comment about expansionism and talking about ki aapko vistarvaad chahiye ya vikasvaad chahiye. Today also in that speech somewhere he did mention that all of us need to maintain and need to follow maritime laws. There should be no violations, and not just maritime space, but even airspace and air passage needs to be taken care of. So he has that meeting with Li Keqiang tomorrow, the Chinese premier. There's going to be a structured dialogue coming ahead of that without naming China. Clearly, there are issues here on the table.
Okay, so that meeting with the Chinese leadership will be important. Smita Sharma, there in Myanmar, tracking every move and giving us a diplomatic perspective of what's been happening on Prime Minister Modi's visit there. Thanks very much for joining us.